Thank you so much for joining us on Africa this morning. We're now on Table Talk, and today we're going to be discussing families. Even as the world is going to be dawning into commemorating the family unit later on during this week, we're going to have a conversation on what realities we're faced with as Kenyans when it comes to protecting the family, valuing the family, focusing on challenges facing the family, and whether the government has strong enough structures, especially when they're looking at social protection for the family. Joining us to give us his perspective is Bishop Charles Kaloki, who is an inspirational, motivational speaker, and also you're a bishop.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
We're talking about family values. Where do we stand at the moment? We were discussing earlier on, and you're saying we've lost it. Have we lost it really?
We are the verge where we can lose it,
or we can redeem it.
Yeah, we are the verge. And as a society, we are coming from a place where family values were serious, and now we're in a place where we are in the middle, whether we can lose it or we can gain it. So I don't want to say it is lost. We are the middle, and there's a lot of hope of regaining it.
And there's a lot of work to be done to
Yes.
reestablish the value of the family.
Yes.
Even as you're talking about the work to be done, as a bishop, inspirational speaker, what are the realities that you're recognizing or even faced with on the ground when it comes to looking at how Kenyans view family?
At the moment, when you look at from the discussion we have had with a number of young people and parents, some of the young people have been able to say, I don't have a family. Because basically the mother and the father is not there. And basically the TV is the mother and the father. In fact, one of the young child was being asked, class 2, when she grows up, what she would like to become. And she said television. Because he said, you know, it's the most admired thing, it's the most loved thing. When the father comes, he just watches it, you know, and so the child says, I want to be a TV, because there's no family connection. Yeah. You know, this is what is happening, and I think it is something which is not a value to many. They look at it as, you know, we are just here together, there's no relationship. So it is a challenge from both the children. They are feeling lonely, and then the parents are too busy to recognize what is really happening. Yes.
What are some of the issues that have caused it? One being the drive for financial success.
Yes.
What are some of the realities you're faced with as a bishop, even as you're counseling the flock, and also standing as an inspirational speaker, pulling people back to recognize what is most valuable?
The first thing which we are facing up is actually that issue of materialism. That you know, the money issue, poverty, you know, chasing this dream. So everybody seems to be running after it. So it's a big challenge because the schedules are so tough. You know, I was talking to one family, and basically the father goes to work at 5, and he comes at around 9, and the wife is also coming at 9. So there's a lot of chasing after this, and that is a big challenge because yes, when we talk to the parents, say, what do I do? I have to get this money for the children to go to school. And I need also to be the children. And these people are working actually up to Sunday. So they work the whole period because they are in beauty industry. And on the weekend is when actually more people are coming. So you find out that they don't have the time for the children. So that issue of materialism becomes a big issue. And of course the other thing is then when you talk about technology, you know, that people are so busy with the technology. You know, you go to a family and you find everybody is on WhatsApp and there's no talk. So that the technology is also contributing to that. And then also stress, you know, there's a lot of stress. That's why you find today, actually one of the biggest challenges now we're having is that families are becoming a suicidal place. I think you are realizing that it's not a safe place it was, that you can get a mother, you know, banning all the children and committing. So it is not a safe place because of the stress levels and because people are not very normal. When you talk with them, they are not very normal. So the level of their way of they look at things is not very normal.
Let's look at the genesis of that. One being the fact that we have not had deliberate strategies within the family, even as we've emerged into this industrialization period, where you would sit down with the community people, be able to establish yourself, one, on the community level, looking at your family, recognizing your possible identity within them so that you're able to even find your course as you grow up. How can we bring back the structure? Because as we were discussing earlier on, the village is a mirage right now.
Yes. In fact, when you look even in the past, if a mother never took care of his children, the mother-in-law or the grandmother will come in and say, you know, you are a small young girl, you are neglecting your child. Now that is not
even if you're weak, you're not able to support them, we will support.
Yeah, they will support. You know, the grandmothers will come and take care of the baby as the mother goes. So these are things which have gone. The village is not there. The clan system is not there. Now what we have now is actually the emerging societies. You know, and we need to also impress them. One of the emerging societies is actually the church, the religious groups. You know, these are becoming very, very focal thing. And what we are letting people to not understand is that you need to be part of the group. Because in these groups now, what we are seeing, like in the communities which have been going, is encouraging the older women to be able to come in with forums where they can be able to train the younger women on how to take care of their children. And also now getting the older men to be able to appreciate. So the church and the organization, religious organization,
is the 21st century village.
Is the 21st century society.
Yes.
And that is where, and then when you look at it also, the government, in the developed countries, they come up with what we call communities, where they actually fund communities within an area. And in terms of social, you know, social welfare. You know, when you look at today, children welfare, it is something which is neglected. You find that the population is growing, but the number of children officers, they are very few. So these are areas where we need to get connected, where the government need to come up with something to help now the existing and modern societies now to come up with society, because there is actually a vacuum. The issue is that there is actually a leadership vacuum in terms of families as concerned.
Even as you're talking about establishing the 21st century village, using the church, using groups that will be able to support the family, we are faced with another case of the blind leading the hungry. An individual walks into a state of parenthood without the consciousness of the demands that will be required of them in that state. What support structures are there for those who, one, have no identity? Because yes, you might be mature, you might be of age, but you have no social, cultural, emotional identity as an adult. What social structures are there that can allow for an individual to grow into their own, even as they are parenting?
I think the first thing which needed to be put in place, you know, is from the top leadership. The government has to come up with a structure, because currently, whether small organization come up with a structure, as long as it is not coming from the top, it is going to fail. So from the top, there need to be what we call a policy in terms of what are we really relying on. Because as you understand, family basically is a unit of the country. If the family unit is cracked, the whole society is cracked. So when you look in our country today, look at a day like this week, or maybe 1 month, and look at in the media, on the newspapers, check how many people, leaders, are speaking about family. You find it very rare. So this thing is not talked about. In fact, it is something which is like, the name is like, when you talk about family, people wonder what you're talking about. So I believe the policy from the top has to be put in place. But from what we are seeing now is that, as I have been talking about Nyumba Kumi, is something, you know, which can be done, but it has to be done from the leaders who are here.
Many have indicated that religious institutions, civil society organizations, and social groups have failed by not uniting, because when it comes to calling for a policy to be drafted and for it to go through Parliament, it has to be motivated by the call from society. How are you uniting the voices of religious institutions, even as you are a bishop who is able to influence on the ground?
I think one of the things which we are doing from ourselves is understanding the problem. See, the problem before was not very clear, but when you look at what is happening, every other week you find a father being stamped by a son, or you find maybe a mother has burned his children. So these issues are now bringing the sensitivity to a place now where now we are coming up with, number one, we have now what we have created, what we are calling women groups. We're calling it Women of Vision in Action, where we are actually targeting the older women to be able to realize they have a role. Because just like you have said, the blind leading the hungry. Yeah. You get many people getting into family and they don't know what actually is the work of a mother. The other day we were talking to older women and they're saying, today, if you are the daughter who is 30 years came to you and said, teach me something. Do you have a curriculum? Do you have something that you can actually teach this person? The issue is that what you gain from your mother is what you need to pass. But there's actually, in most cases, very little was passed from the mother to the daughter, from the father to the son. And that is where now the issue we are saying now, let's get the older men come up with something like a curriculum, simple curriculum. What do you talk to a son who is 40 years? What do you talk to a son who is 20 years? What kind of advice do you talk? Because what happened is that the moment the education came, schools, universities, the parents thought that these things are actually taught in school. Yeah. But interestingly, the life skills are never taught in school. In fact, one of the things we are suggesting as bishops and leaders is how we can be able to have a family curriculum brought in the universities, so that at least people understand. Because you see, the most important things are never being taught in school. You know, in the university, people are taught science, they are taught mathematics, but they actually are never taught how to be a father, how to be a mother, how to be a wife,
how to respect your
elders. How to respect your elders. So these things are not being taught. And so I believe it is something which coming up from what we are saying is that the change of the curriculum, where now to bring in the religious institutions. Because every time you find that religious institutions have been talking, the government says, concentrate step aside. Yeah. Now, that is not going to help. We need to work together. Yeah.
When you're looking at the family setup, what would make a good family, even as we're about to touch on some of the challenges that are facing the family when you're looking at money and the family? What would make a good family? What are some of the routines that we need to establish so that we are able to, even as you put it, we are at the edge? Yes. What do we need to do to bring ourselves back? What habits do we need to have to unite ourselves as a family unit?
The first thing is actually to recognize that the family is the most important thing. Because when everybody is not there, the only people who will be there for you is your family. The other thing is also to recognize that you are a product of a family. And so the value for us to be able to have a good working family is for people, first of all, to appreciate the need to have values. Now, and then there must be a vision. Now, most families don't have a vision. Today, we have got a very good tool called WhatsApp. Now, and like in my family, I've created a WhatsApp group. And for my children, my wife, and we are talking. So these tools can actually become tools of interaction. And we have said every day, can we say something to each other? And so communication becomes...
Being very deliberate to be positive to each other.
Can we talk something good to each other? The other thing which is very key is actually the love, you know, to kind of develop systems which can encourage appreciation and love. And these things are only going to come if there is time which is spent like at a week. Within the week, there must be a family day, you know, and that I've said it to my family, that there is a day, and I'm encouraging every family to have a day when it is just you and your family. Because then the next thing becomes very key is actually getting to understand, to learn each other. This is what we are encouraging my children to learn me, get to know.
Because that's a very important point. Most of the time you feel, yes, you're my sister, yes, you're my brother, that's it.
Yes,
so
and
why
you don't
do I
know
need
me.
to learn you?
Yes, you don't know me, I'm a stranger to you. And that's why you find people misunderstanding each other, because you don't know me. I'm your brother, but you don't know me. I'm your sister, but you don't know me. So what I'm encouraging is each of them to learn the other one. Get to know this is your sister, is your firstborn or the thirdborn. And when you are firstborn, this is how you behave. So there's a lot to be taught. And then in this family gathering, there must be something to learn, to be taught. So what we are seeing is that for a good family, there must be respect, there must be love, there must be time for each other, and also valuing each other. This is what I believe it's lacking. I was in a family the other day, and the mother and the son, they disagreed. I was going there to discuss, and the son said, before we discuss, I want to let my mother to know that she needs to respect me. You know, and this is a young man, maybe less than 20 years. But you see, what it is that, yes, we need to come to a place that we respect even our children, to realize they have something
to offer.
And you know what is more important and what is very interesting is that everybody has a brain, and everybody is thinking.
And everybody is feeling.
And everybody is feeling. Now the issue is that we are coming from a place where we are coming from old system
that said children should keep quiet and sit in the corner.
Yes. Yeah. And now we are dealing with a case where now children have been to school, where they are being told,
you have rights.
You have rights. So that's where the conflict is.
Yeah. How do we take up conflict resolution from the family setup? Because they happen, and most of the time you find a little fracture within the family can create a very huge explosion, if not cost a life.
In fact, what you have just said is where the problem is. Because there is no resolutions. Currently, families which don't have a church or don't have a religious leader, they have nobody who can help them. Before, there was an uncle or a grandfather who will step in and help them. And so what we are encouraging each family is that each family need to identify a person whom they can talk to and whom they can listen.
Who can be a mediator.
Who can be a mediator. Yeah. Because in any system, even our country, Kenya, we have systems which we have a problem. We have somebody or an organization where we can go. And that is what is happening today. When people have a problem, husband and wife, a small problem, it cannot be resolved because they cannot talk to each other and they don't have anybody who they can listen. The same thing with the children. The children have a problem with the mother and they have a problem with the father, and basically they cannot resort to rebellion because there is nobody. So this is where we are encouraging each family to identify at least a person, you know, because there must be a person, you know, who can be able to come in, a mediator, and help them.
Many instances have a reason where a family has chosen to trust, has offered the opportunity for a mediator to step in. However, the valuing of the discretion clause in any particular conversation has not been realized, has not been valued, and you find that families fear stepping out, coming from, as you mentioned, a culture that has always been proud of keep the family secrets within the family. So the moment you invite a mediator who does not value the discretion, it invites fear. What are some of the opportunities that are available for families out there to seek mediation in terms of conflict issues within the family setup?
I think one of the things is that in this country, we seem to be only working on negative thing. For example, if one pastor does something wrong, it becomes like all the pastors are wrong. And that is, I believe, is really wrong. I mean, even if there is somebody who has done wrong, there are also other good people out there. And I believe that from the trust value, it is important to get to a place, because today many people have been told never say anything, but not saying anything does not solve. I believe that we need to train. In fact, one of the things we are actually doing is actually training the older parents on how they can be mentors, because actually what is lacking is mentorship. Because when you are a mentor, you know that you need to keep secrets of the people you are dealing with. And most people feel betrayed when they hear their issues discussed and they were not supposed to be discussed. So for those who are volunteering to help, I will really advise that they keep discretion, they keep the secrets, because a family is actually secret, you know, because a family feels strong if they can hold their secret, because you're not also going to allow your secrets of a family to be known. So I believe that the current challenge is that we don't have the mentors. And that is what we are doing as a church, training more people, encouraging. Some of the people who are in the ministry, in the religious, some of them have not been trained. And that's one of the things we are doing, seeing how do we train them to handle family conflict.
Yeah.
Because some of them come in and then you side with one person and you create more trouble. So we need more family counselors because the population has increased. If you look at this city and ask how many family counselors are there, you may find there are so few, and yet we have a very big population, including what we are calling social workers. Currently, they have been dealing with the children issues. But I believe the government need to get in a place where these social workers get to the next level, where they can actually handle family issues.
Yeah. That's an interesting perspective. When you're looking at family, there's someone who's sitting out there who's, in a sense, cynical.
Yes.
And assuming, yes, Bishop, you've mentioned that we need to have values, we need to have a vision.
Yes.
The reality is we're in the industrialized age.
Yes.
I'm a mother, I need to work, my husband needs to work. The pressure is already there.
Yes.
How do I begin? What structures do I take up right now to ensure that my family does not fall through the cracks? Because the reality is the pressure does not have mercy on anyone. It does not say, I'll pause tomorrow so that you can have a break. Give relief to someone out there who's seeking for a formula that they can use to be able to create time for their family within their 28 hours in a day, which are already used.
Now, the first thing, I think Kenyans are stretching themselves too far. And they are trying to really get everything they can and losing what is a very important thing. So to that family, what I would say is number one, to list actually what they do from morning to evening for 5 days. And be able to see what are things which are not important. Because there are things which are urgent, but they are not important. And if something is so important as family, because we go to look for that for money for the children. And you can imagine looking for the money for the children, and then these children get into the drugs, because these children, they say, you don't love me. I've had many children saying, my parents don't love me. I ask them, do they provide for you? Do they take care of you? They say, yeah, they pay school fees, they take me to school, they drop me to school, but they don't love me. And then I say, why? Because they don't spend time with me. And so as much as we are dealing with everything, there must be a time in a busy schedule. And some of this time can be created. One way we create it is, number one, ensuring that we cut on some things. A lot of things have a lot of
something has to go.
Some things that must go for the family. And if the family is so critical, then something must go.
When you're looking at the social ills in society, all generated from a need for money. We've talked on the fact that the country is experiencing, the greater family, which is Kenya, is experiencing social ills, and we're discussing about the impact that money has had on the family. You mentioned materialism is a major problem. Money and the family. How do we balance the scale so that we bring ourselves back to that point, even as you had mentioned earlier, there are people who are dealers and passing on those theories to their children who now grow up into the 21st century dealers and pass on the baton, getting us to that point where we value money than we value family connection. Give us your thoughts on that, on a national perspective.
On a national perspective, first I would like to really talk about the government. And I would like to say that something needs to be done, focus on family. When you look at the currently trouble we have now with the children and with the families, it is because of the pressure, and there's no relief. There's no relief in terms of what is a relief for me who has a family, as opposed to another guy who has no family. Is the government encouraging family? When you go to places of work, is anybody in the family being given more some time to go and look at the family? It is at that level where we need, first of all, to be able to look at it, because there must be some relief.
In a sense, you're talking about ensuring that even as you're taking on planning strategies, we need to think of family. When you're taking up employment, we need to think of family, maternity leave, paternity leave, and supporting the family from the workplace. And
when you look at it, like just exactly what you are saying, we begin with the civil servants. You know, they are working up to Friday. They have 2 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But is there anything in the appraisal, in the appraisal system of the government which ensures that those civil servants are taking care of their families? When you look at the appraisal system currently, it is about how much money we are making as a company, how much products we made, how competitive we are. It is not about the most important thing. And so I would say that the first thing is how that employer, being the biggest employer, the government, how is the civil servants are dealing with the family issues. Then we get now to the private sector, which is also so much geared to, because this pressure is pushed from the top. You know, it's about success. You know, so that is where we need to get to. The next thing which now we look at is the parents themselves. What we are passing, what are we passing to the next generation? As I said earlier, you find that there is a lot of things happening in our media about a man or a woman who was stolen from the government. Now that person is not jailed. I have my children who have been asking me, so and so, the media said he has stolen. What happened? Now that person is at home. He has not been jailed. Now what we are passing over to the families is that actually what is being done is right. And until justice is done, then we will not have family standing. Because family is built on truth and justice. And that is why when the justice system is not working, then actually we mess up the family. So it may look like we are doing something there nice, but it's impacting thousands and millions of lives. Just one person not being punished for what he has done, then it is impacting millions. Now the other thing is when you look at even the source of money, you know, somebody's life is actually can be judged by money. Somebody said, if you show me how you spend your money for the last 1 month, I can actually tell you who you are.
And what you value.
And what you value. So when you look at these children, they are growing in an environment where they don't know where their parents get their money.
And their parents are not willing to share.
And they're not willing to share. So at the end of the day, they get to calculate. They do mathematics in school. They calculate. They know you earn 200,000, but you have a building which is costing 200 million. They cannot understand. So at the end of the day, they get to learn that actually you are a dealer, and they copy it. So these are things which are being passed from one generation to another, and that is why, as we look at our society, it is a problem. The problem is that it is just from the family itself. These children, now they have appreciated that actually what their fathers do and their mothers do is okay. Right. It's a value. You know, you don't have to tell the children, this is our value. What you do is actually a value. Yeah.
Even as we end the conversation, there's a lot that has been said about what challenges are facing the family.
Yes.
What word of hope do you have for the nation so that we can now get ourselves to that point where we decide to roll up our sleeves, decide to get ourselves to that point to redeem the family state before we get to that point we have no solid family state?
Yeah, that is a key issue. One of the things I would like to say is that not all is lost. One of the things coming out very strongly is actually from the same media and what is being published. The young generation is seeing that money is not everything. They are seeing people with money but having problem. And the question is coming back, how do we resolve the problem? And everybody now is thinking about family. You know, today when you call for parenting, whatever, we are getting many people coming. So what we are saying to the audience today is that there's hope, and it all begins with you first. It is not going to begin with the government. It's going to begin with one parent. You know,
one individual.
One individual saying, I am a parent, understanding I'm a parent, and beginning what we call a role family. You know, where is a raw family? And that raw family, then you raise it up. There are values, there's a vision, just like a company. There is an agenda, there are objectives, and there's meetings in the family, they are gathering in the family. That becomes the first place. The foundations are right. Because I want to say this, as one of the greatest teachers of the world, Jesus Christ said, He said, make the tree good and the fruit will be good. And so I believe that if the tree is good, which is the father, the mother, then the fruit will be good. And then somebody else said, when you see the leaves withering, the stem dried a long time ago. So what we are talking to the parents is that what you are seeing today in the children, it is not them. It's a reflection of ourselves. And so that is where the work is involved. And the other thing is that it's a hard work. So I want to say to the parents and the families today, families are gift. The biggest gift God gave to somebody is actually family. And life is so special that God desired it to be created, to be actually nurtured in a family. Yeah. Because that's where love is. And if we are thinking about a great Kenya to come, then we must nurture those loved ones who are in our families, so that at least they can become great people. Because great people are only going to come from a well-nurtured family.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us, Bishop, and giving us an opportunity to put ourselves in a position to understand that the family is the most valuable unit in society. And even as a government, we need to put everything in the perspective in relation to how it will impact the family, so that even as we're establishing our structures, how will it affect the family? Even as we're putting up policies on sports, how will it affect the family? Everything through the family lens will be able to secure the nation at large. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you've been inspired. Even as a family here in Kenya, we are a grand national family. We need to ensure that we are able to secure ourselves by valuing what is right, valuing what is truthful, valuing what is valuable for ourselves now and for the future. Thank you so much for joining us. From the team and myself, enjoy the rest of your viewing right here on Ebo TV.